that what are the basic concepts related with that embedded system, where we have to use, what are the classifications, some basic concepts we have discussed in the last lecture. And second thing is that we have decided and we have finalized our scheme for that M.Tech first SEM's autonomous. Okay, this is the finalized syllabus for your M.Tech first SEM. Okay, and this syllabus you have to refer for that your examinations. Okay, and your examination pattern is 60 and 40. 60 marks on the end semester examination, and the 40 marks is your assessment. For example, class test 1, CT1, CT2, and the uh, class assessment. CT1 and CT2 is a 15 marks, total 30 marks, and the 10 marks is your class assessment or teacher assessment. Okay, on the basis of that, this assessment, uh, your attendance is very important for that you are getting that marks. Then your performance of every test related with your subjects. Okay, all these things is very important to getting the marks in your assessment, CT1, CT2, and class assessment. And rest of the 60 marks is totally depending on your theory marks. Okay, at the end of your semesters. Okay, we are conducting this end semester examination for that 60 marks, and the 60 marks having the syllabus. Okay, each unit having the 12 marks. Okay, total 5 units is having for the embedded system and applications. Okay, and this is a elective. This is a elective. This is a program elective from the semester first. Okay, second elective is a wireless communication, wireless sensor network. Okay, this is the program elective second from the first unit. So already we have taken this elective for that M.Tech first sem program elective one. Okay, this in that embedded system having the 5 units, and the first unit is embedded system and processor. In that embedded system processor, we are discussing of the basic knowledge, basic fundamental concept, and the history of that embedded system processor. In short, we can uh, we can learn the optimizing designing matrix, time to market NRE, unit cost designing matrix, applications of embedded system, and the recent trends in embedded systems. Means, in short, we can say that what are the basic concepts, what are the applications, what are the how to design that embedded system. So these are the basic concepts is related with that unit number first. Then second is the embedded system architecture. Okay, in that architecture, we have to design the hardware and software architecture. When we have to designing that hardware and software architecture, that time we know that what is the process to design that hardware. Okay, by using that software. Okay, last in the last lecture we are discussing related with that hardware designing part, basic concept of a hardware designing part. What are the hardware component which is required to design that embedded system? Okay, another thing is that what are the memory is also used for that embedded system. And the second thing is that the ARM bus, different type of a bus which is required to configure the hardware and software. Okay, these all these contents we have to study in that unit number 2, embedded system architecture. Second thing is that in that unit number third, protocol and networks, means when we have to design that hardware and software, that time we need different type of protocols, we need different type of a network. Using that protocols and using that network, we can configure the this embedded system along with that software. If we are using this embedded system in the network, in that network, that time what are the protocols, what are the different type of networks we have to uh, use to communication that purpose, using the mobile communication, using the wireless communication, like that. Okay, in that purpose, we need the protocols and the network in the embedded system, so that we can study here in the unit number 3, Bluetooth 802.11. This is a wireless protocol. Okay, Wi-Fi protocols we can study in that unit number 3. Okay, these are the different contents which is related with the protocol and the network. One by one we'll discuss uh, on the according with that teaching plan. Okay, in that unit number 4, the ARM processor and real operating system concept, because here we have to study the RTOS, real-time operating system, because when we have to use the sophisticated embedded system, sophisticated means large embedded system, that time we have to use the multiple or more number of a microcontroller used for the performing the different tasks. So that when we have to design that large embedded system, that time we have to use the art of real-time operating system, because we are performing the multiple tasks at a single instruction, so that we can say that the real-time operating system in that ARM processor. So in that ARM processor we have to study the some assembly language, some C programming language in that ARM processor, uh, how to design or how to write that program to debugging of that microcontroller using that software. So, and in that ARM processor, we are studying the RISC processor and the six processor. These are the some basic concept of basic microcontroller which is related to that embedded system. Okay, so one by one we'll discuss, and last is a case study. In that case study, what we have to do, in that case study, different type of application we can take, and on that application we can write, or we can study the different case study. For example, in that different domain we have to use for that case study, using that communication domain, using that automation domain, using that security domain, using that automobile field, using that personal digital assistant, using that set-top box. Okay, these are the different type of a domain. On that base of the domain, we can study or we can learn the different type of a case study which is used to embedded system application. Okay, these are the all 5 units which is related to that your embedded system syllabus program elective one from the M.Tech first semester. Is it right, all of you? Is it right? Okay. So these are the reference books. These are the reference book. You can refer this textbook as well as reference book. Okay. The Raj Kamal is a very important book which is very helpful for studying the embedded system, because in our library the Raj Kamal uh, having the maximum number of copies available in our library. You can issue these books for the studying the embedded system. Okay, or we can purchase the from the market. In that market is available this type of a books, Raj Kamal, because the Raj Kamal, in that Raj Kamal textbook, all the syllabus is covered by that textbook. Okay, yeah, and some of the students they can refer the reference book is also. These are the some Prasad reference books. Liars Gupta's is also available in the market or in our library. You can refer this reference book for the studying the embedded system. So first of all, today we are going to discuss the unit number first. Okay, embedded system and processor. What we have to study from the today's lecture. First of all, every time when we are to taking the lecture, that time basic objective of that every lecture is lecture outcome. Okay, what we have to gain, what we have to achieve from that each and every lecture with respect to all the subjects. From that my subjects, what we have learned from the today's lecture. Okay, these are the lecture outcome. Um, okay, these are the outcome from the today's lecture. First of all, we can understand the concept of embedded system. Second is the classification of embedded system and how to build up the process. These are the three outcome from the unit chapter number first for the today's lecture. So one by one we'll discuss related with that embedded system. Last time we have discussed the what exactly the embedded system. The embedded system is nothing but you are the combination of the hardware as well as the software. Okay, this system is called as a embedded system, and this system is dedicated for the either an application or specific part of an applications or the product or component of a large system, because every time everywhere we have to use the embedded system application. For example, in general purpose application, we can use this example washing machine, cooking machine, automatic chocolate vending machine, multitasking toys. Okay, these are the different type of applications which is available in that embedded system. And by using that embedded system, hardware and software, we can use this application. In that application, we have to use the embedded system. Okay, these are the applications available for the embedded system, and this is a hardware and this is a software part. Okay, this chip is nothing your microcontroller. Okay, multi number of microcontroller we can use for the for performing of a different task using the software language, and in that software language we can use the assembler language, we can use the C programming language. Okay, and this software language we have to use to debugging that hardware as well as software. This C programming or assembly language is converted to the hex. This hex language, hex machine language is given to that microcontroller, and this microcontroller will perform the different tasks using that assembly language or the C plus language of C language. Okay, when you have to use the assembly language, that time assembler is used. When you have to use the C programming language, that time we have to use a compiler. Okay, depending on that language, we can use the different type of a task or performing the different performance of a different task using the software language. Okay, and this language which is converted to the hex format, because every machine language having the hex extension. So due to that hex extension, we can perform the different task because the microcontroller is required the in the form of hex format. So or hex extension, and in the embedded system we can use the C programming or assembly language. So this is some little bit information with of a hardware as well as the software. These are the application which is required for the general purpose applications, and depending on that categories of embedded system, we can use the different type of application: washing machine, toys, chocolate vending machines. Okay, these are the application which is depending on that which type of embedded system is required for that application, for the specific application. Okay, these are the application, because here we have to use this embedded system is everywhere, because without embedded system we cannot performing the different tasks, because in aeroplane we can use that embedded system. When we have to use the television, that time we have to use the embedded system. When we have we have the broadcasting medicals, that time we can use the embedded system. When you have to use the digital car, when you have to operating in the digital automatic car, that time we have to use the embedded system. In mobile communication we have to use the embedded system. The camera, video games, like the printers, any kind of application, we have to use the embedded system application. So everywhere we can use the embedded system, and you should keep in your mind the embedded system is used in everywhere. Without embedded system we cannot perform any kind of a task. Okay, so these all things related with that embedded system, these are the components. Whenever we have to use this embedded system, some of the hardware component we have to use to execute any kind of a task using the hardware, because every hardware having the some programming, because due to that programming we can controlling or we can giving the command for the performing of a task using the microcontroller. This is a microchip here. This is a microchip. We can use the multiple microcontroller. We can use the more number of a microcontroller to use performing the different tasks. We can use the display. We can use the any kind of a mechanism. We can use microcontroller. That time you can perform the different task. Okay, the, basically. हेलो हेलो
Yeah,
हेलो
so
आई एम ऑडिबल? मेरी आवाज आ रही है?